brothers and sisters. How are you guys? Y'all heard that note? Ooh, I think I should be in the choir. But hi, guys. Happy Wednesday. Happy December 25th. Merry Christ is a must. Okay, because that's how I look at it. Christmas. Christ is a must. Merry Christ is a must day. Give God praise today. It's not about gifts. It's not about all of that. It's about giving God praise. No, today is not his actual birthday. We don't know when his birthday is, but we still celebrate him today, just like every other day. He is the reason for the season, for every season, not just Christmas, but winter, summer, spring, fall, all the days of our lives. Okay. So celebrate him today. It's not about gifts. If you couldn't afford the gifts, oh well, it's not about that anyway. Like people going that y'all get it. We celebrating Jesus today because Christ is a must. Mary, Christ is a must. Okay. So hey guys, I did not plan on giving a prophetic word this early in the morning. Obviously, it's early, y'all. I honestly didn't know that I was even going to be on today. I knew I was going to be on because I'm recording this on my laptop, this word, but I also started recording early this morning for our 32-day challenge and journey that we'll be taking from December 25th to January 25th. That's 32 days that we're going to be doing this challenge and journey that I posted about in the community tab. The Lord also had me release a prophetic word about this a few days ago, called The Wait is Due to Your Weight, right? The weight, W-A-I-T, is due to your weight, W-E-I-G-H-T. And we talked about that in that word. I'll try to pin it below if you haven't caught it. But so many people are joining the 32-day challenge today that the Lord has called me to help you guys with. And along the way, I'm going to be learning stuff myself too and getting in even better shape with you guys. I'm not a personal trainer, a doctor, a physician. I'm none of that. Okay. But I am somebody that really takes my weight seriously. I work out often. I'm mindful of what I eat. So I'm just going to be sharing different tips and tricks with you guys. You can tweak this the way that you see fit, but I talk about more of this challenge in the other recording that I'm actually recording that will be posting later today for day one of our journey and challenge throughout this 32 days. So I'm recording on my computer for this prophetic word and on my phone. I started recording early this morning. So I guess you can call it a vlog, so to speak, because it's not the traditional prophetic word. It's actually vlog style where I'll be showing you guys, some different meals and stuff. So I started that early this morning. So I'm actually recording on two different devices, but I did not plan on releasing a prophetic word today. I didn't have anything, but God gave me this. He actually gave me this after I was done recording on my phone for the vlog for our 32-day journey and challenge. So I'm going to be obedient and give you guys this word. It is 9:52 in the morning right now. Um, yeah, it's early. It's early. It's 7 o'clock on the dot. I'm in this crop top giving prophecies. Mm-mm-mm-mm. I got a real, real, really big God that's calling for me. Ooh. You know that one friend who will turn any R&B into a gospel? I mean, yeah, any R&B into a gospel song. That's me. I should have been a music writer. I woke up anticipating his good words. Lord, don't keep me waiting. Ooh, Usher, collab with me, Usher. But you need it from the way you be grinding on these stage. I'm gonna be quiet. I'm not gonna judge you. But the way you be grinding on these stages with your concerts, you need me to collab with you. But yes, let's get to this word because yeah, I'm obviously on one today, but today is a celebratory day. Like, why wouldn't I be? But this is the word God gave me today. Let's actually say a quick prayer, and then I'm going to give you guys this word because it is very powerful. And yeah, the Lord is speaking and he's speaking loudly and he speaks through so many different ways. Like I said, did not plan on releasing a prophetic word today. The only thing I planned on doing was recording this blog for our 32-day challenge, with some tips and tricks in my workout routine and workout routines to help you guys. But I didn't plan on releasing a prophetic word because I didn't have a word to release. I mean, there was nothing that was on my heart when I woke up this morning to release, but God, bloop, 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 download it. And so I'm going to be obedient. Um, the title of this word is A Sling, Stones, and Faith, a Sudden Encounter of Victory. A Sling, Stones, and Faith, a Sudden Encounter of Victory. This is our Unfogged series, the 31 Days of God lenses. This is day 25 as we are on December 25th as of today. So God speaks through anything. Never limit God, first of all. And I have some notes on my computer too, and yeah, some stuff on my computer. So you may see me like looking as if I'm reading. I'm reading my notes on my computer. Um, but I checked my email this morning after I finished my devotional time and my Bible time with the Lord. And I told you guys before, I get word of the day sent to my email, right? So I always read them. And God has spoken to me through the words of the day that I received so many times. He doesn't speak to me through it all the time, but I just read it because they email it to me. And I really don't know how I got on the list for the word of the day, but it's been going on for years. So I just read the word of the days every single day. And I get two emails from two different places with two different words of the day. So one of the words for the day that was emailed to me was accouter. Accouter. It's spelled Accoutre. Accouter. And the definition of accouter is to clothe or equipped in something noticeable or impressive. To clothe or equipped in something noticeable or impressive. So I was like, okay, God. I was like, that's a good word, not thinking anything of it. But right behind me reading that word, the Lord gave me the Greek word, and I'm going to spell it for you guys because I'm sure I'm probably not going to pronounce it correctly. But the Greek word that God gave me after I opened this email and read that word of the day, accouter, is the Greek word aparaskaios. Okay, aparaskaios. It's spelled Aparaskeuastos. And this word means unprepared, unready. Okay, it is used to describe a state of being unprepared or a lack of readiness. It conveys the idea of not being equipped or ready for a particular task or event. So, on one hand, I got the word of the day that means to clothe or equipped in something noticeable or impressive. So, basically, this word accouter means to prepare, right? To prepare. But then the Lord gives me the Greek word that I just gave to you guys, and it means unprepared, unready. So I'm like, okay, God, we have prepared, okay, into clothed and equipped in something noticeable or impressive. And then on the other hand, we have unprepared. So I'm like, what is it that you're speaking to me? And immediately the Lord dropped the story of David in my spirit, right? He dropped the story of David in my spirit. And he began to tell me about how David went to take food to his brothers, not knowing that in the process of him going to serve his brothers and expecting to serve them and go home, that he was going to defeat a giant, which was Goliath, right? So the Lord began to speak to me about both of the words that he was giving me, accouter and the Greek word that I've given you guys. One means to be prepared and ready, right? Accouter again means to clothe or equipped in something noticeable or impressive. And then the Greek word that he gave me, Aparaskeuastos, means unprepared. So the Lord just began to speak to me about how David went unprepared to fight. He was only going to serve his brothers, to take his brothers some food, right? As they were working, right? He was only going to serve his brothers. So he went unprepared for what was actually about to happen. And in a sudden moment, in a swift moment, God prepared him for battle and he had a victory encounter. And so did the Israelites. So did Israel. There was a victory that took place, even though David went unprepared. God suddenly prepared him in that moment and he defeated a giant. He defeated a giant. And victory was not only brought to him for defeating the giant, victory was given to God because David gave God glory even before he defeated the giant. And victory was given to Israel. They were set free from this Philistine giant, right? So the Lord began to speak to me about that. And the story of David, it literally captures the tension between this Greek word, Aparaskeuastos, unprepared is what that means, and accouter, being equipped. God is very strategic, guys. When David arrived at this battlefield, his intentions were simply to serve. He didn't know he was stepping into divine appointment. He was unprepared in the natural, no armor, no sword, no formal training, but in reality, David had unknowingly prepared for what was about to happen. He was unknowingly prepared by God in his wilderness, right? His time tending sheep and fighting lions and bears, his wilderness. And God taught him in that to rely on God. God also gave him courage and skill to do what it is that he was ultimately going to do, and that was to first defeat a giant. How many of you guys are in your wilderness, this in between place, and you're complaining about being there because it's not what you thought it would be? David was still working for his father, even though technically, by the time he went to defeat Goliath, Samuel had already anointed him as a king. He was already a king deemed by God. But just because he was anointed as a king didn't mean that it was time for him to move into kingship at that time. Once Samuel anointed David as king, David still stayed in that in between place, in what some of you guys could also see as his wilderness, until God was ready to call him into position. Just like many of you are in this in between place. And I released in a word a couple of days ago for you guys to be quiet and stop complaining. You're only there for a short period of time. Pick up what God is pouring out to you. Learn from what God is giving you, because you're only there for a short period of time. You're in a transitional phase. And instead of learning from it, instead of gaining strength from it, you're complaining, but you're only there for a short period of time. And in the quickness, you're going to be doing something, not thinking anything of it, but God is literally leading you into a victory. He's leading you into a victory. Many of you, just like David, you're not going to see yourself as prepared for what he's presenting you with. But in that sudden moment, in a swift moment, God is going to equip and prepare you, and you're getting ready to walk into a victory. So on one hand, you're going to see yourself as unprepared. But even in the unprepared state that you'll be in, you'll still have the courage and the strength and know who you serve and who's the power backing you in this situation. And you're going to be transferred over into a victory in a quick moment. David went to serve, and in a sudden moment, he was in the middle of a fight. And then in another sudden moment, he was in a victory state, in a victorious state, in a place of victory. That all happened in one day, in 24 hours. And I hope you're catching this, whoever this word is for. You're not in this place for a long time. And in a swift moment, in a quick moment, you're going to go from serving to being in a prepared state by God, right? Feeling unprepared, serving, to quickly being prepared, for whatever is before you, taking that thing down and walking into victory. That's all going to happen in a 24-hour time frame for some of you, in a swift time frame for some of you. This is not going to be some drawn out thing as long as you take what God is teaching you. Because David learned his skill in the wilderness when he was tending to his father's sheep, fighting bears, fighting lions. God was using all of that to strengthen him for this very moment and then beyond. Are you using what God has put in your hands in this temporary short-term place that you're in? When the moment came, God equipped him with not Saul's armor, right? He tried on Saul's armor. It wasn't working out. It was too big. It was flimsy. God didn't want him to use anyone else's armor. He was going to be armored with the armor of God, right? So God equipped him not with Saul's armor, but with what he already knew. A sling, stones, and faith. David's preparation wasn't about outward tools, but about inner readiness that was cultivated through his intimacy with the Lord God. His victory over Goliath wasn't about physical might, but more about spiritual authority. David knew that he was a man after God's own heart. He knew the power backing him. He knew he was going to win because he knew the God that was fighting this battle for him. David was just being used as a vessel, but the real fighter was the God standing behind him, the God within him, the God surrounding him, right? God is omnipresent. He's everywhere. So David knew he wasn't fighting this himself. He wasn't fighting it in his own strength. He was simply a vessel that God was using, just like many of you in this short time, in this in-between place. This whole thing that God began to speak to me shows how God can take us to places where we feel unprepared in the natural, yet within the same time frame, he's going to provide all we need, whether it's divine strategy, confidence, or tools. It's a reminder to trust him in every step, even when we feel like we're stepping into situations without everything figured out. Because many of you are getting ready to step into situations and you're going to be like, oh my, I wasn't prepared for this. God has been preparing you this whole time. You just didn't know it. David didn't know that during his wilderness, so to speak, working for his father, tending to sheep, being overlooked by his family. Y'all better come on. Being overlooked by his brothers, overlooked by his fathers, that God was actually grooming him to take on a position of kingship, grooming him to defeat a giant, grooming him to set the captives free. He was only in this wilderness, this in between place for a short period of time, but God wastes nothing. Nothing goes to waste when it's in God's hands. He uses everything. So many of you are the Davids right now. Whether you are male or female, you're the Davids in this in between place. And God is using this to mold you in order to put you in this position of queenship, to put you in this position of kingship, for you to defeat giants, for you to set the captives free, for you to walk into what he has promised you this whole entire time. You've been anointed as king, you've been anointed as queen, but it just wasn't time for you to walk into it yet. When Samuel anointed David, David didn't just come with Samuel and walk into being a king. He stayed right there and kept tending to his father's sheep. He kept fighting bears and lions. He kept working in the dirt. He kept getting his hands dirty, even though technically he was already deemed a king. Y'all better catch this. Just as David declared, and we're going to read it, the battle is the Lord's in 1 Samuel 17:47. Your obedience is to show up even when you feel unprepared. And for many of you guys, that time is quickly approaching. You're going to have to show up even when you feel unprepared, even when you feel apar askaios astos, whatever, however you pronounce this word, astos. That's the Greek word the Lord gave me. It means unprepared. You're going to have to show up even when you feel unprepared. And for many of you guys, the time for you to show up is coming so quickly. It's right there. And you're going to be like, what am I doing here? Oh my gosh, God spoke to me about this. I wasn't ready. Da, 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 da. You're going to think all of these thoughts because to you, it looks like you're going up against a giant, but that giant is going to be defeated so quickly, and you're going to be in a place of victory, walking into what God spoke to you about. Defeating the giant is going to be very, very fast. This is not some long, drawn out process. And then you're going into a place of victory and into the position God has for you. Allow Him this in between time. You're about to have to show up even though you feel unprepared and allow God to accoutre you. Okay, accoutre you, which again, accoutre means to clothe or equipped in something noticeable and impressive. You're going to have to allow God to accoutre you with everything you need to slay the giants in your path. He equips the called in real time, not just before the calling. He will equip you in real time. David was equipped in real time to defeat this giant. In real time. He didn't equip David before. Yeah, he did in a sense because of David's wilderness season when he was working for his father and all the knowledge and training he gained. But he really equipped him in real time. David went to serve and ended up defeating a giant and walking into a victory. He did not plan on any of that. He simply went to serve his brothers and was going to head back home. God is encouraging whoever this is for you to step into the situations that he's calling you to, even though you feel, I cannot get these words out today, even though you feel unprepared, knowing that he's already equipped you and deposited into you what you need. And he'll reveal more to you as you move in faith. I'm going to read really quickly 1 Samuel 17. I'm going to start at verse 41. And I always get emotional when I read a specific part when David tells Goliath who's with him. I always get emotional at verse 45 because I'm just going to read. So I'm reading 1 Samuel 17, starting at verse 41, and I'm reading from the Good News translation. The Philistines started walking toward David and with his shield bearer walking in front of him. He kept coming closer. And when he got a good look at David, he was filled with scorn for him because he was just a nice, good-looking boy. He said to David, "What's that stick for? Do you think I'm a dog?" And he called down curses from his God, lowercase g, on David. "Come on," he challenged David, "and I will give your body to the birds and animals to eat." David answered, "You are coming against me with a sword, spear, and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God, capital G, of the Israelite armies, which you have defied. This very day, this very day, y'all better catch this. Whoever this is for, this very day, this is going to happen really quickly. This very day, the Lord will put you in my power. I will defeat you and cut off your head, and I will give the bodies of the Philistine soldiers to the birds and animals to eat. Then the whole world will know that Israel has a God, capital G, and everyone here will see that the Lord does not need swords or spears to save his people. He is victorious in battle, and he will put all of you in our power." Goliath started walking toward David again, and David ran quickly toward the Philistine battle line to fight him. David ran quick. How fast did David run, guys? He ran quickly toward the Philistine battle line to fight him. He reached into his bag and took out a stone, which he slung at Goliath. It hit him on the forehead and broke his skull, and Goliath fell face downward on the ground. And so, without a sword, David defeated and killed Goliath with a sling and a stone. He ran to him, stood over him, took Goliath's sword out of his sheath. Like, I'm going to say, you dead. Let me take your weapons from you. Took Goliath's sword out of his sheath and cut off his head and killed him. When the Philistines saw that their hero was dead, they ran away. Goliath's people were like, we out. The men of Israel and Judah, God's people, shouted and ran after them, pursuing them all the way to Gath and to the gates of Ekron. The Philistines fell wounded all along the road that leads to Sharam, as far as Gath and Ekron. Whoever this is for, y'all better catch this. Something is getting ready to happen really swiftly and quickly. You're getting ready to be called by God into a place, a position, and you're going to feel unprepared, even though God has prepared you on the back end this whole time. You just didn't know it. Many of you were in that place complaining, Lord, why am I here? This is not what I expected. Okay. Anytime someone is anointed as king, they don't expect to be still working in a dirty field, feeding sheep and fighting bears and lions. You just anointed me as king. Let me go sit in my golden chair. Let me go do some important work. Let me go to my place of elevation. David didn't expect to still be doing work for his father. I'm sure, not after being anointed as a king, but there was still work for him to do. Even though God had called him and positioned him, it wasn't his time to step into that position yet. There was still that in between place. Some people refer to it as a wilderness, but that in between place that doesn't look like the place that God spoke to you about, but it's that in between place that God prepares you for his goodness, for his greatness, for his place of elevation. Eventually, David was rich. He had everything he needed. He got married. He had wives, children. He ended up with all of that. But that in between place, that wilderness, that dirty place, that place that seems unfair, that place that seems like you're sweating and working and dirty all the time, that was necessary. It was necessary then for David, and it was necessary now for you. But in the quickness, you're going to think you're going somewhere for one thing, and you're going to end up defeating giants swiftly and being put into a place of victory. This happened all in one day for David. And it's going to happen in a swift moment for whoever this word is for. Stop complaining and allow God to put the finishing touches on whatever he's doing for you. Because when he calls you to that place, you're going to look at yourself as unprepared, but you're also going to know the God that you serve, the God that's surrounding you, the God that's in back of you, the God that's in front of you, the God that has went before you, and that the victory is already done. You are just a vessel being used. God is birthing a big thing out of you, a big thing. That's the word for today, guys. A sling, stones, and faith, a sudden encounter of victory. And this encounter of victory is going to put you into a seat, a victorious seat. And it's not going to be some drawn out process. This wasn't a drawn out process for David. This happened without David planning it or expecting it. He went for one reason and he left as a hero. He left victorious. So that's the word for today, guys. I love you. I hope you enjoy your day, and we'll talk soon. Bye, guys.